Konnie Huq, for it is she, welcome to the podcast. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to be here.
So you've had great success with your children's series, Cookie, the Cookie series. What drew you into the world of fairy tales?
So, when I had my own children, who are now 10 and 8, obviously they tell you the minute you're pregnant, the minute this baby comes out your tummy, they're taking everything in they can hear, even if they can't communicate back. And you're supposed to be reading them bedtime stories every night, even when you're like, this is ridiculous. This child can barely even dribble properly. So we started reading all the classic fairy tales to our kids at bedtime. And so I got all those sort of Ladybird classics. And I realised how outdated some of them are because, actually some fairy tales date back, and I'm not even exaggerating, thousands of years, not just hundreds of years. And so I thought it might be quite interesting to update them for the 21st century. Some of these stories kind of are creepy and sinister in many ways. They're not always happy endings. And I'm not saying that I'm all about a happy ending, but I did think some of the tropes like damsels in distress and knights in shining armour were a tad outdated because, we live in a world now where it's okay to be a knight in distress. Boys can be sensitive. My oldest son is very emotional and quite sensitive. It's okay to be a knight in distress. It's okay for boys to cry. And similarly, you can have a damsel in shining armour. You can get a feisty girl. It's good for girls to see sort of strong role model characters. So I guess that was the sort of beginning of the germ of the idea.
And Fearless Fairy Tales, there's only some here. There are so many fairy tales in the world. So are you going to revisit other fairy tales?
Well, you know what? I was thinking that now, because so much has moved, especially, we've had 3 prime ministers this year, haven't we? And everything is just moving so quickly that every time something happens in the news, I do think, oh, that could be a fearless fairy tale. Oh, that, because we cover stuff like there's one, which is the gingerbread kid. And the gingerbread kid, essentially, his people are being eaten. The gingerbread people are being eaten in fairy tale land. And so him and his family escape across the sea in the boats to the UK, where he gets bullied at school until the children realise he's the most interesting kid at the school because he has stories of giants up beanstalks and cats in boots and so on. So if you want just a funny story, it's literally only that. It's just a funny story. But if you wanted to discuss, refugees or bullying or prejudice, it's quite a good springboard. There's one that's Jack and the Baked Beanstalk, where Jack finds this glowing baked bean and he grows this beanstalk, and then all these giants come down, and then the village elders get annoyed, and Jack's best friend is a giant who he loves dearly, but the village elders get annoyed because they say they're taking our jobs and they're putting their giant footprints all over our village or whatever, and so they vote to chop down the beanstalk, and essentially kind of it's and the vote is nearly 50-50 until Jack's grandpa, I'm spoilering it actually.
I know, really.
Cast the deciding vote. Sorry guys, there's 16 stories, so I've only spoiled one. But and so that's like a thinly veiled sort of Brexit. So everything that happens, I think, oh wow, this could lend itself to a fairy tale. So maybe, but I have to find 16 more things to happen.